Hey, what's up, everybody? It's J-Rock right here. Today, I'm hitting you with another comic review. We'll be reviewing Darkchylde, Legacy, and Redemption. This covers issues 1 through 3 of Legacy miniseries and 1 through 3 of the following story arc, Redemption. Now, the first story arc was called The Descent. So you will get the trade paperback Descent Volume 1. It is the second trade paperback you would get. Um, so this covers a girl named Ariel, and basically the gist of it is that she can when she has nightmares, the creatures she sees in her nightmares, she can become them. So she's kind of like a shapeshifter. She can turn into whatever creatures she's dreamed of, right? On the first story arc here, Legacy, they do a good job of catching you up on what happened on the Descent, being the first story arc of the series in general. So basically, what happened in the first story arc was that Darkchylde, she barely found out about her powers, about how she could turn into these creatures that she has in her nightmares. So she didn't know how to control them and so forth. So it hints out that she had some nightmare about a dragon. So she became the dragon. And in being this dragon, she didn't know how to control these powers. She accidentally killed her father and her boyfriend's father. So this is where this story starts, Legacy, where she's like, well, I killed my father, killed my boyfriend's father. I have to leave this town now, right? So she's leaving the city, and it has a very like romance novel vibe, which a lot of comics back from the mid '90s to the late '90s, there was a lot of new series coming out that had the main protagonist was a heroine, being a female, right? Which it didn't happen that often back in the '80s and '70s and the '90s. You got a heavy dose of it, a lot of them. Which romance novels were also very popular back then. Some in other supermarkets, Ralph's, Vaughn's, and so forth. With that guy Fabio, he was very famous for being in the cover of a lot of them. So this comic starts off with a lot of that tone, just like a lot of those series did back then. But this one quickly changes from a romance novel type of vibe, and it gets more action comic book superhero style vibe. And it has a dash of horror, but it feels more superhero than horror to me. It feels almost like a Spawn type of book. We get introduced to War and Peace. War being the big blue guy, Peace being the little red guy. So they're looking for Darkchylde. Not really clear if they're on Darkchylde's corner or not at this point. So we get back to Darkchylde. She's just a drifter roaming around, and she sees this carnival. So she enters the carnival, thinks circus, right? And while she's walking around, she bumps into this little kid, talks to him for a second. Little kid leaves, and we jump to the night where she just spends the night in this carnival. And this kid's back at home with his family. He's asleep, and we get introduced to this other villain named Penance. So he's Think the Boogeyman, right? He wakes up kids at night, scares them, gets in their nightmares, and kills them. So when he finds this little kid, we get back to Darkchylde, and she sees the body. He's dead, and she's having like illusions of him still speaking while he's dead, right? And he has this letter taped to him that says, "I know who you are, Ariel," and so forth. And she's like, "What the hell? Who left this letter? Who killed them?" And Penance pops up. She sees him, and at first she's kind of angry. She's like, "Penance, I already kicked your ass before. You want more?" So it hints that they fought in the first volume, right? And he goes, I know you're gonna hesitate. I know you're scared to use your powers." So I guess because in the first volume she killed her father and other people, so she's scared to use her powers. And she does hesitate. She just freezes, and while she freezes, he just grabs her arm, rips it off of the socket. It's very gory. It looks like it's over for our main protagonist. All right, guys, see you later. That was a great rip. No, she survives, but when she gets her arm torn out, I can only type of pain she's in. So she can't hold on very long. She's like, I have to use my powers or I'm gonna just bleed to death, right? So she uses her powers to turn into a creature. A few issues I had with this artist is like for example, here where Darkchylde was fighting Penance, she stabs him in the mouth with this big stick, right? This stake or whatever. She says, and when it shows this panel, she cracks a joke, so it's meant to be a big moment, it's funny, and then also you see the panel where she drives a stake through his mouth. So this is a big scene. She wins the fight. So this panel is drawn so small here, considering how big a scene it was. The impact it's to win the fight. You think it'd be bigger, right? So it'd be like on a splash page or something, or a 2-page spread, and it's not. It's just in a little small panel in the corner. So I thought that was like the choreography by this artist is not the greatest. The art style itself, it's okay. And you see on the second story arc, when it's Randy Queen on art, you see the choreography gets a lot better. He's a lot better storyteller with the art. And once this happens, they finish this fight scene. War and Peace come to her aid, help her, tell her you could change back to normal because it's not good for you to stay in your whatever nightmare creatures you think of. It's not good to stay in that form for long because the longer you stay in that form, you start becoming them. And she's scared to go back to her normal form because her arm is ripped off. They tell her, "Don't worry. Once you turn into a monster, turn back. You're healed again, right?" And we see that here in the panel, she's healed. So they're kind of aiding her, helping her out, right? Now the people in the circus, they see the whole shit go down. They know there's something up with her, but they don't really know the whole gist of it. But they offer her a job. You know that they're like, "You want to come with us? You clearly can't stay around here," and so forth. She decides to go with them. She says, "I know you've seen a lot of crazy shit. The people in the carnival to her, we've seen a lot crazier. Trust me." So that's kind of crazy that they've seen uh, crazier stuff than what they just saw, right? Some demons going at it and whatnot. So anyway, she leaves with them they're in a train, they're a traveling circus. While they're on this train, another issue I had was with the writing. Um, a lot of these stories, it's not just this one, a lot of 90s stuff like Fathom, Witchblade, so forth. These are artists trying to dip their hand into writing, right? Because now there's a writer and artist, much like how manga does. So the art is usually solid on a lot of these old image from the 90s titles, but the writing, the stories, they have good ideas, but the dialogue itself, they're never that great at it. This is a great example. I'm gonna show you this panel, how the writer wrote it, and then I'm gonna blank out all the stuff it doesn't need because it just repeats the same stuff. It just says it in different ways, right? So you'll see the difference of how many word bubbles are here and then how many word bubbles don't need to be there, right? So you see the big difference there. The dialogue is a problem. They repeat things too much like the old 60s stuff, where if you just edit it, a lot of this stuff out, it'll be a much smoother read, right? And that's another thing because these were creator owned. The artist was the writer, and then he had people helping him on colors and so forth. They didn't have editorial. They didn't have bosses telling them edit this, chop it down to where it's less writing or any of that stuff, right? And it clearly shows right here. So she got a job at the circus. The boss of the circus is some guy named Spencer, and he looks like 12. He looks like a little kid. She's like, "Aren't you a little young to be the boss? So you want this job or not?" So anyway, she's working with them, and while she's traveling with them and working, she's meeting a lot of different people, right? So she comes across another little kid, gives him a free stuffed animal, and after, the last kid I talked to appeared dead. So now she's paranoid. What if when I talk to children, I make them a target for this boogeyman, right? So she follows this kid home. She's she's sitting down next to the room at night, and she goes, "Man, I'm coming off as a freaking stalker. Like, what am I doing?" And then she starts thinking about her old life with her boyfriend, and we get that romance novel feel all over again. And when she's thinking about this person, we see that she hasn't lost her mind. The boogeyman is out there. He's hiding behind the bushes looking at her. And while he's looking at her, us as a reader see her, she doesn't know that he's out there. He's waiting for her to get tired and leave so he could get this kid, right? So the monster gets tired of waiting for her. He jumps into action, and we get this epic fight scene between the two. Pretty badass. The artwork, Image Comics, the artwork is never the problem, right? But anyways, the action scenes are always good. But while she's fighting this monster, she quickly turns into her creature form to defend herself, and you see a lot more confident now because now she knows she's getting better at wielding the powers, and she's knowing the rules and knowing what goes along with it, right? The baggage that follows it. Rule number one: don't stay in creature form too long because you'll start becoming that creature and you'll start becoming less of yourself. So this time she turns into this like gargoyle almost type creature, and the artwork here is magnificent. Clearly the different artists and the action scenes, the choreography is clearly a lot better on the fight scenes. It does things the way it's supposed to. You get big splash pages on the big moments and big panels when they should be. And it's revealed this monster looks similar to Penance, but it's slightly different. So it's not Penance. And it's revealed when she's fighting him that it's that kid Spencer. So he's been killing children to keep his youthful look, like he steals their youth when he kills them, right? Sucks their soul, if you will. And that was crazy because then the first thing I thought was like, holy shit. So how many of these creatures are out there? There's clearly more than just Penance. There's more than two. And that was a trip, and then it opens up a whole another bag of worms. So when she kills this creature, you see all these spirits of all these children saying thanks for letting us free, although they're still dead, but now they could rest in peace. They're not just in purgatory, if you will. Okay, so after he fights this creature reveals to her that, you wonder the root to your problems is your mother. And she's like, what the hell? So she goes to this tombstone to find answers how she got these powers and so forth, to this tombstone and of her mother's grave. And the spirit comes out. She's arguing with the spirit. It's clearly the mother, but she hints at, like, she says something along the lines of, I only did it to protect you because a big evil's coming and you're gonna need these powers. So it feels like she handed these powers to her somehow, right? So as they argue, the mother flies away and it looks almost like a flying star. She just shoots through trees, burning through them. And when she passes through the road, the old ex-boyfriend from high school is driving by. She sees this flying star, so he stops to see what happens, and he sees Ariel there. So they rekindled. He lets her know, I still love you. I don't blame you for what happened when they for my father's death, right? And so it's nice to see something good happen to her, because pure bad shit is happening to her the whole book. I mean, just with the fact that she had her limb torn from her arm torn from its socket, that's enough right there, right? Um, and then at the end, it gets kind of crazy, and the art does a good job of here, surprising you page after page. The last 3 pages are all surprise pages. Each page introduces to new characters at the end, right? To keep you wanting to buy the next volumes, and it definitely did that for me. I'm like, who the hell are these other guys? I want to know what's happening. We get these characters looking at Ariel with her boyfriend, and they're like, should we interrupt her? This is the perfect time to target her. They say, no, let her have this moment. So they don't seem like they're all bad. Then the next page, we get these astronauts, and they're like aliens. They're aliens from another planet. They're searching the forest for something. And when you see their face just their face is in shock here. So we got these new players, and then when their face is in shock, we switch the page, and they see what I believe to be Penance, the monster. His arms are torn off, his guts are hanging out everywhere. Somebody brutally massacred him. Assuming that's Penance, that's who it looks like to me. And we're like, oh shit, what's going on? Who are these space creatures, these aliens, and who the fuck did this to Penance, right? The book ends there, total cliffhanger. We want to know who all these new characters are. All in all, I really enjoyed this series. It was solid. The art was a mixed bag. When you have the main artist, it's solid. The choreography, the style itself, it's all good. A lot of splash pages and so forth. Now, the thing that really killed it for me was the plot was well done. I like the character designs and so forth. But the dialogue, man, they over-explain things way too much. It's kind of like they explain to you what's going on in the panels and the pictures. It's like, that's what we got the pictures for. We don't need the narration explaining to us what's happening in the picture. That's what the art is there for. It does kind of like what the old 60s stuff did in comics, where the thought bubbles will explain everything. Like the character will say, now I'm jumping, now I'm using my superpower. It's like, we don't need you to say all that. We see it in the art, right? We see it happening. So what I would say is the dialogue, it's okay. What you really need to concentrate is on the narration. The narrating over-explains things, has way too much narration. You could skip 90% of it and just stick to the dialogue, and it'll be a much better experience, in my opinion. If you've read this before, let me know what you thought about it. If you haven't read this before, let me know in the comment section if this video helped you make a more informative decision, if you want to pick it up someday, or if something you're totally gonna skip on. Other than that, I'd just like to thank you guys for taking the time out of the day to check out this video. Hopefully you hit that like button, and if you want to see more of the same, hit that subscribe button. That way it keeps you updated on my newest videos when they upload. Other than that, thanks you guys, and I'll check you guys out next time.